We started from Singapore, stayed overnight at Kuching, and here we go. Mulu Airport is really small. Marriott had their guests being picked up in a truck soon after we arrived. We took a local cab to the Mulu National Park at just 5 ringgit per person and reached in around 5 minutes. We were welcomed by this swaying bridge as if to set the vibe of the trip. Then we registered at the park's office. It was a really smooth process, paid for the tours which we had booked in advance, checked if financials were all fine, and got our keys and permit for 4 days. Along with it, a shiny white band which my 6-year-old would keep as a memento. This is where we stayed. It was a garden bungalow. The room was clean, cozy, had clean bed sheets, quilt, air conditioner, fan, kettle, ingredients for coffee and tea, mugs, tap for drinking water, enough shelves and hangers. The bath and toilets were separate and everything was spick and span. They had also provided soap, shampoo and bath towels. Felt so good to see that they had maintained a property within the forest so well. Hats off to everyone involved. We first headed to the Discovery Center to understand more about the park, its history, and every other important detail that you need to know. Next was the restaurant. Food was really good and fresh. You can also watch the river from here while you savor your food after a long trek or adventure, sharing a sneak peek of their menu. Having gone with a 6-year-old, we opted for the easy treks and show caves only. First on our list was Deer and Lang Cave. It was a rather long trek, took 2 short breaks before heading into the caves. First was the Lang Cave. This was rather small compared to the other caves we saw here, but the formations were beautiful, really beautiful. Then we headed to the Deer Cave. Our first moment was the Abraham Lincoln profile. It was so exact and everyone went wow. There was water trickling down through the roofs in many places and looked like rain and was oh so soothing to watch. This cave was huge, lots of walking to do inside as well. Do not forget your torch lights, else the caves are really dark and it is not easy to see around. Deer Cave was rather huge compared to Lang Cave that we had first visited. We ended our tour of Deer Cave by taking in the view of Garden of Eden from far. At around 5:30 p.m., we reached the observatory to wait for the bat exodus. This was more than what we had expected. We thought there would be 1 or 2 clouds of bats flying out from the Deer Cave into the skies, but this was many more, and it must have definitely had more than 1 million bats. They went in wavy patterns and it looked totally out of this world. We had never seen anything like that ever before. Oh my God, it was so good. The walk back was a bit scary in the dark. We felt like we were being followed by some strange animal which almost sounded like puppies barking, only to realize later that those were frogs. Since there was no internet or TV and we were tired too, we hit bed soon after dinner and a good warm shower. The next morning was fresh and cool. After breakfast, we set off for our Canopy tour. Our guide was really cool. He showed us a variety of insects and let us listen to the kind of sounds they made. He also showed us how to call for help in the forest in case we got lost by hitting the base of a sturdy tree multiple times. The voice really echoed all around us. And our daughter had a great time crossing the canopies. It was shaky enough and the views from up there were just breathtaking. This one finished quite fast. We were back in time for some good stretching and lunch before the next one, Fast Lane. We had to hop on a boat for this one, enjoyed views of the village and got greeted by a few villagers on the way. Disembarked after a while to go on a small trek to Lagong Cave. Spotted bats and swifts flying in the cave roofs. Again, this cave had beautiful formations. We spotted some insects, a racer snake, and some huge spiders. The guide explained how the caves had formed, how they are still shaping up and why they look the way they do. This cave connected into another cave, which is why it is called the Fast Lane. We enjoyed a blind moment here after switching off all our torchlights together, and it felt pretty scary. And then we walked back to the boat and back to the park in our boat. We had some extra time, so visited the Discovery Center again, went for a walk around our bungalow after dinner, and that was about it for the day. The next day after breakfast, we went for the Clearwater and Wind Cave tour. On the way, we stopped at a handicraft market for some shopping. You can also blow darts here. It was fun. Then we sat in our boats and headed to the Wind Cave. Also had to walk a short distance on wooden boards built like a ramp. This cave has a formation which is called King's Chamber, and it also has a lot of beautiful formations, some extending all the way from the roof to the floor. Then we headed to the Clearwater Cave after a short break at the picnic spot where the trek starts. After climbing 200 steps, we reached the cave, which is definitely more beautiful than any other cave in Mulu. The guide showed us a single leaf plant, which he said is found only in Mulu. This cave has the river flowing within, and the formations are just out of this world. And you have quite a lot of walking to do here, ups and downs, but it is worth every single drop of your effort. After a dip in the river at the picnic spot, we headed back in our boat, enjoying the slight drizzle which made the place look even more enchanting. We realized we so have to come back to this place again. After some rest, we explored the Botanical Trail, which is a self-guided one, spotted more insects, plants, trees, rocks, and water bodies. And then after a rather early dinner, we went for our last tour of the trip, the night walk. It was raining and the guide said it would be difficult to spot a lot of wildlife, but we did spot the frog that scared us the other day, saw how it makes that noise, spotted a few more frogs, stick insects, grasshoppers, spiders, geckos, a huge centipede, and lots of huge snails. Though we visited in November, which was supposed to be rainy season, the weather was mostly pleasant and we got rains only on our last evening at Mulu. The next morning was all about wrapping up and saying goodbyes. This was one of the best trips we had, and we will definitely head back to Mulu when we feel like having a rather special rendezvous with nature again. Links to the national park's websites are in our description.